Hi there, my name is Bruce Rose and I run Alcohol Recovery Scotland up here in the Highlands of Scotland. I'd like to just take the next 10 minutes just to run through very briefly a little bit about my background and very briefly about the program that we run and the process that we use within that program. Briefly about myself. My background was from about the age of about 22 till about 28. I had a drug habit, I think is the best way to put it. I pulled out of that myself. From there I went on to running a business myself, and then I met my wife. We got married about 30, and we then subsequently started a second business that we ran for just under 20 years in the central belt of Scotland. From there I went into working in a homeless shelter in Edinburgh. That then took me on to working in an alcohol and drug residential unit up here in the Highlands. I took on a job as a manager. We worked there for a while. Unfortunately, because of funding, the funding ran out, which it does do in a lot of programs at the moment, unfortunately. That didn't work out long term, but I then moved to another alcohol and drug rehab centre and went into management there. But during that whole process of the second rehab centre, I was trying to find the funding to start another rehab centre up here in the Highlands of Scotland. It proved very, very difficult. The cost of it was very, very high, and in this current financial climate at the moment, unfortunately, there is very, very little funding available for programs such as what I was looking at doing. That led me to doing a lot of research, a lot of study into different models, different types. I wanted a model that was sustainable, that was financially workable, and most importantly of all, that worked. We needed a program that worked. So I searched through the internet, I spoke to lots of people, and I came across a program called the Sinclair Method online. Claudia Christian had done a TED talk online about the Sinclair Method and how by using a medication called Naltrexone it can reverse the addiction and the craving effect that happens in an individual's brain from the medical chemical side by using a medication called Naltrexone. I had a look at it and I thought, okay, doesn't look too bad. I researched it a little bit more, and the more I looked into it, the more sense it seemed to make. That there are two sides to recovery. One side is dealing with all the habits and the situations that come around as a result of that, and the reason why people drink. The second side of it is the medical chemical reaction that is happening in people's brain that creates the craving and the addiction side of it. Now, if there was a medication on the market that would deal with the craving and the addiction side, you then stop or reduce dramatically the effect of relapses, and if you slow down the effect of the relapses, then you reduce the rates of alcoholism, and the success rate goes up very, very high. So this is the way that the Sinclair Method works. You take a naltrexone pill 1 hour before you drink. You then consume some alcohol. The program takes 6 to 9 months for that to work. And what it does is it reverses that process that's going on in individuals' brains. And over the period of time, people's desire and craving and addiction for alcohol reduces until it gets to the stage where people basically do not want to drink anymore, or they reduce it right the way down so they can stop completely. Naltrexone is an opiate blocker. We all have receptors in the brain. When we drink alcohol or take other drugs or other substances, it releases endorphins in the brain. So when people are drinking and become addicted to alcohol, they're not addicted to the alcohol per se. They are addicted to the release of endorphins and the reward and the pleasure that those endorphins give. That's what they're addicted to. So what the naltrexone does is it actually does two things. As you drink more and more and more, it builds up neurological pathways between one receptor and another receptor. And when those two pathways have connected, what then happens is the speed of the crossover of the endorphins from one receptor to another is rapid. So it goes do 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 do. Now when it does that, it then creates addiction and it creates a craving. So the two things that naltrexone does, the first thing it does is it breaks down the neurological pathways which takes away that craving. So that craving over a month or 2 months or 3 months reduces. Once those neurological pathways are broken down, what then happens is, because it's an opiate blocker, naltrexone then sits on the receptor and it stops or reduces the release of the endorphins into the brain. So it doesn't build up the neurological pathways again, therefore reducing the craving and the addiction or the desire to drink. That is the one thing that in any abstinent program drives people afterwards to have a drink. Now, please don't get me wrong. Abstinent programs, I've worked with people that abstinent programs have worked for and will continue to work for them. If that works for you and that's the road that you want to go down, then that's absolutely fantastic. We support that 100%. However, if you've struggled with that line of things, if you want to go down a different road, if you want to try something else, the Sinclair Method has shown clinically, we have over 120 clinical trials, and through those trials they were showing a 78% success rate. Now obviously it is completely down to someone, the compliancy of someone using the medication 1 hour before they drink. Now it sounds crazy, it goes against the normal form of recovery, which is abstinent. What we are suggesting is an alcohol reduction program that takes over between 6 and 9 months for that process to happen. Now when that process happens, people then go into what they call pharmacological extinction, where they then take control of the drinking through the use of the naltrexone. If drinking alcohol to an addiction level is a disease, which most professionals will tell us it is, it needs to be dealt with medication. That's the one side of it. The other side of it is the habits and the reason why people drink still needs to be dealt with. That still has to work through. So, Alcohol Recovery Scotland, what we do is we work very, very closely with a specialist doctor. That doctor deals with all the prescriptions for the naltrexone. He deals with all the medical questions, the medical scenarios that come up. And then Alcohol Recovery Scotland, we look after the follow-through program. So we look after 6 to 9 months of telephone calls, of video conferencing, weekly drink diaries, conversations. We're looking at habits, we're looking at lots of different things that happen as a result of it. We will tailor-make the program to the individual. So some people will need more support, some people need less support. If we have situations where people are in need of counselling, or if people are in need of further medical help, we do all that through our doctor. That's very basically of how the process works. We would love to talk to anyone else if you have any more questions, if you have any questions about how the program works, about how we work, please feel free to get in touch with us. At the end of this video, you will see our web address. It's www.alcoholrecoveryscotland.co.uk, www.alcoholrecoveryscotland.co.uk. If you go into that website, there's a lot more information. There's a video, the Claudia Christian video is on there if you'd like to have a look at that. And our contact page is also available if you'd like to get in touch with us and just ask a few more questions or chat some things over. Okay, and we'll speak to you soon.